Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Blind Boys Politics. Nick Rod here. Chris Baker is with us as well. And Chris, why don't you kick us off on this Friday morning with some weather?
In Los Angeles, California, it's cloudy and 70 with a partly cloudy weekend. Houston, Texas, it's raining today, 44 degrees, and cloudy weekend. Chicago, Illinois, partly cloudy, 15. Snow moving in Saturday. New York City, partly cloudy, 31. Snow Sunday. Moving away from just the regular weather, Portland could see up to a foot of snow this weekend. Seattle could see a half a foot of snow, and 31 states are under a negative below numbers watch in temperature.
Jeez. It really seems like winter it's just kind of moved into place, evidently, lately.
And Nick, I hate to break it to you, but you live in one of those 31 states.
Yeah, so do you. But
No, I don't. No, I don't.
No.
Nope.
You don't even live in this country.
Well, Nick, don't give away all the secrets. New York City is not part of New York that is getting hit by the negative number, so I'll be in New York City for the weekend.
Oh, okay. There you go. It seems like New York here has been getting hit with snow. I feel like I'm seeing snow reports like every third day at this point for the past 2 to 3 weeks now. We're supposed to be getting a ton more, a bit on Sunday, a bunch on Tuesday, more on Thursday. It's just, I know it's winter and we get snow around here. Don't get me wrong, but it's insane right now.
I can solve this problem.
Okay.
Just don't look at the weather report.
But then I'll experience it when it actually happens.
No. If you don't look at it, it won't happen.
I can't see it. It doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Wait, does that mean that nothing exists?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Sounds a bit accurate.
So, moving a little ways away from weather, Nick, we're on vacation next week. So, I'm wondering, what are you doing next week?
I don't plan to do too much as far as exciting things go. On Monday, I get to visit the college I will be attending starting in the fall.
Is that exciting?
No.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, it won't be bad. I'll get to actually see the campus a little bit, and I'll get to meet with, advisors and accessibility people. So it'll be interesting to say the least. And then the rest of the week will figure itself out from there.
That sounds so exciting.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What do you have going on?
Well, let's see. Saturday, I have things. Sunday, I'm going to buy a new computer. Fun that is. Monday, I'm going to Hawaii. A teacher asked me if I was really going to Hawaii. I said yes. I'm going to print out a picture of Hawaii and tape it up on the wall for the week. But it appears that if we're getting snow 2 days next week, I will be working. So that's fun.
Lucky you.
But it will help pay for the computer because computers are expensive.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on that because that really enrages me.
Oh yeah, I know.
Among many other things, but
I mean, you had me looking for a computer for you the other night, and I was browsing, and I was seeing, there was one for $7,000. I was seeing others for $5,000, $3,000.
That's the one I'm buying. Yeah, that's the one I'm buying.
The $7,000 one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I found a nice one, $600. Probably won't last me 10 years.
Is that the one that you sent me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the one I'm getting.
It looked pretty decent. Switch out the processor and you'd have a solid machine. But anyway, I'm nerding out
We're really
here.
getting off track.
Yeah, I'm nerding out here. But
And I don't know really how to switch out a processor or even what a processor looks like or even what the processor exactly does. I have an idea what it does, but for me to switch it out, that would be comical to watch. Um, Moving into something a little bit different, this week started the impeachment trial. So we're going to talk about the impeachment trial from Monday to today and what has been going on through the week because there's been a lot going on.
it's definitely been eventful, no doubt about that. Um, so yeah, we like Chris said, we have a timeline laid out here that we will be going over. Um, you know, to say the least, this could be the fastest impeachment trial that's ever happened. The structure of the entire trial was agreed upon by the the House Democrats and Republicans. Tuesday, there was 4 hours of debate. This was on the constitutionality of the trial itself. Wednesday, there was 8 hours of House managers presenting their case. On Thursday, there were only 3 hours of the managers presenting their case. They didn't use the full 16 hours that they were allotted. Um, Starting on Friday or today, as of release, President Trump's lawyers will be beginning their arguments in their case. They will also get 16 hours to argue over Friday and Saturday. Somewhere within this whole thing, there will be a vote as to whether or not witnesses will be called. The trial will reconvene Sunday. There'll be equal time for questions, closing arguments, deliberation, and final vote.
And of course, conviction does take two-thirds majority, 67 votes. If convicted, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said there will be a move forward to see if President Trump can run in 2024. His last impeachment lasted about 3 weeks. This one could last 7 to 10 days, depending if witnesses were called or not.
So we have a bit more information about President Trump's pre-brief. We talked a little bit about it prior, um, but this is a 78-page pre-trial brief. It's broken down into 20 different sections. The lawyers really, they expand on their original document that we discussed last week. They argue that the trial is unconstitutional. We have a bit of a quote from them. Chris, could you read that for us?
Indulging House Democrats' hunger for political theater is a danger to our republic, democracy, and the rights we hold dear. President Trump's legal team says that the Senate holds no judicial power over Trump because he's now a private citizen. President Trump's lawyers also argue facts in the impeachment articles are, quote, self evidently wrong. They also say President Trump was not afforded due process because this impeachment went too fast. And finally, they say the former president is protected under the First Amendment. The House managers responded yet again to that, saying the House denies each and every allegation in the answer that denies the act's knowledge, intent, or wrongful conduct charged against President Trump.
All right, so talking about the constitutionality of all this, you know, the trial is and has, of course, it's moved forward from the arguments of its constitutionality. On Tuesday, like we said, they spent 4 hours debating on whether or not the whole thing was constitutional or not. The Senate voted 56 to 44 to move forward with the trial. And in this case, the Senate only needed the simple majority to move forward with this, or in other words, 51 to say yes.
Only one more Republican joined the five previous Republicans, which were Senator Romney, Senator Saws, Senator Collins, Senator Tommy, Senator Murkowski. The recently added Republican was Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. After the vote, he had this to say.
I said I'd be an impartial juror. Anyone listening to those arguments, the House managers were focused, they were organized, they relied upon both precedent, the Constitution, and legal scholars. They made a compelling argument. President Trump's team were disorganized. They did everything they could but to talk about the question at hand. And when they talked about it, they kind of glided over it, almost as if they were embarrassed of their arguments. Now, if I'm an impartial juror, and one side's doing a great job, and the other side's doing a terrible job on the issue at hand, as an impartial juror, I'm going to vote for the side that did the good job.
So next we move into Wednesday, or day 2 of the proceedings. This was full of first-person stories, audio recordings, and never-before-seen footage. And the House managers, they really just, in their argument, they laid out everything that happened during the January 6th attack, minute by minute, step by step, the entire proceedings of it all. They talked about the perspective of the lawmakers when they were inside of the Capitol, as well as when they evacuated. And they also went into the perspective of the rioters themselves. And they even pieced together President Trump's actions and words throughout that day.
We also watched Vice President Mike Pence. He was evacuated only 58 steps away from where the rioters were. We also saw lawmakers running out of their chambers, heroic officers fight off the mob. The House managers blame all the violence on President Trump. After 8 hours of the proceeding, officer adjourned for the day.
There was a brief objection from Senator Mike Lee, a Republican from Utah.
Then Thursday came. The House managers rested their case. They took a detailed look at several things: what President Trump's cabinet members said when they resigned, what other GOP lawmakers said in the beginning of President Trump's call to the rioters to go home. The rioters also believed that they would be spared from any consequences because their commander-in-chief told them to be there. They were invited, they said.
The House managers also addressed President Trump's defense, in the case of the First Amendment, and said that it doesn't apply for the reasons that you'll hear in this audio clip right now.
First Amendment does not create some superpower immunity from impeachment for a president who attacks the Constitution in word and deed while rejecting the outcome of an election he happened to lose. I'm sorry. There's nothing in the First Amendment or anywhere else in the Constitution that can excuse your betrayal of your oath of office. It's not a free speech question.
The audio clip came from lead House Manager Jamie Raskin. They go on to say that President Trump showed no remorse for the actions he took and still hasn't shown any remorse for what happened.
Senator Jamie Raskin warns that if you do not find a high crime and misdemeanor today, you have set a new terrible standard for presidential misconduct in the United States of America. President Trump's defense does start today at noon, Friday, January 12th, and we will have the full details of their defense Monday morning, of course.
So that is all we have as far as the impeachment proceedings go at this time. So next we turn our attention to some information about COVID-19 and specifically masking, and in this situation, double masking. So the consensus at this time is that double masking does work in preventing preventing your impact with COVID-19. Wednesday morning, the CDC released a new study saying that double mask experiments have been done in January of 2021. When they talk about double masking, when the CDC talks about this and the scientists talk about it, they're essentially saying, you wear a surgical mask underneath of a cloth mask. They have also talked about knotting the ear ties and flattening the mask to your face so that it lays, nice and tight and snug to your face.
The CDC scientists used dummies with a mask and simulated someone with a contagious cough. The results are when wearing an unknotted medical mask alone, blocked 42% of the simulated particles. Wearing a cloth mask only blocked out 44.3% of the simulated particles, and a combination of the medical mask and the cloth mask blocked out 92.5% of the simulated particles.
So at this point, the CDC has recommended universal mask wearing in order to slow the spread of COVID-19. At this time, however, they have not officially recommended double masking. That's not something that they've done quite yet.
Moving into a different topic, stimulus, a very hot topic right now. Now, I've had a big level brain thinking, just, what, all I'm going to say is stay with me. It might be a little bit out there, I know, but I think it might make sense. So picture your colored pencils, and you have your colored pencils to make art. So the stimulant negotiations are ongoing, but it is super confusing because it looks a lot different from the past stimuluses that have been passed. This is because of the budget reconciliation that is going on. It's too early to tell before anyone wonders what is going to actually be looking like in the final deal, the final, the final package. No one knows yet. But everyone's using their colored pencils right now working on the finished product. Now, the finished product represents President Biden's $1.9 trillion package, including each one of these things that he includes into his package. These are just a few, but stimulus, you give that color red, vaccine is orange, child tax credit is purple, money for state and local governments green, and small businesses blue. Each color is assigned their own committee. So here's what happens. Dozens of committees in the House and Senate each get a color pencil based on their committee's color. Each committee write up their own legislation about their color. They debate it and vote on it. Then after each color is put onto the paper, quote unquote, legislation, and voted on and approved by the committees and the budget committees in the House and Senate. Put all the colors together, everyone's little drawing with their individual color onto the finished product to make this big art project. Then a debate on the entire artwork, another vote, and then another vote-a-rama. So, as you can see, this is a big, huge process. We're painting the Mona Lisa here. We're not drawing Chris's third grade art project.
So essentially, what I was able to take from your little theory here, your little analogy here, Chris, is and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like you have a giant group of people working on this art project. Say you have a class at school, for example, working on an art project, and they each have to come to a consensus as to each little detail that goes onto the project. And then at the end, when everything's kind of put on there, they have to vote on and decide whether that finished product is what they want to go with, correct?
Exactly. And in the way that you explained it, each little group of deciding what goes on it, each group has the color that they've been assigned to on where it would go.
Right.
So, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
You
so
know, I
it's almost like you have a bunch of these little groups. Take my school art class for example again. To add on to your theory there, Chris, and you have each of these tiny groups. Each of them has their little color, their little drawing. All the other groups have to come together to look at what each individual group has done, vote on that, then put it up on the main painting, the main project.
hope this makes sense. I hope it clears things up because it's not the typical bill to law
Right. It's not the
process. It's more in depth, it's more complicated. Many people don't understand how the process works because it is so complicated. And when I woke up this morning, that was going on in my head of all things. And I thought there's got to be some kind of analogy that I can come up with to make this make sense.
I definitely think this. I know in my head, going over it here, when I read it earlier before we started recording, it definitely seemed to lay itself out pretty nicely. I hope that it does for all of you guys listening as well. Good job,
So
Chris.
one of two things either just happened. Either everyone completely understands it now, or I've made it worse. Time will tell.
I mean, you're right though. It's a very complicated matter. It's a very complicated topic, and trying to find a way to um, explain it in an easier fashion and a more relatable fashion. It's not easy. It's really not. But hopefully, with Chris's analogy here and this little discussion, we've been able to clear that up a little bit.
Now, moving out of stimulus, the other most popular topic that we used to talk about just about every week, TikTok. TikTok has made a return. Remember the whole TikTok ban? Well, not anymore. Well, at least for now. President Biden is in no hurry to rush the sale of TikTok.
No, so the Walmart and Oracle deal that we talked about, what feels like so long ago now, that's being put on hold indefinitely. The Biden administration is going to review the company's security risks. Eventually, the sale, it hasn't been ruled out at this time, but if it does happen, it could be under completely different terms or it may not happen at all.
We don't really know, but that's all we know. It's not the top priority for the Biden administration right now. It's under investigation, but it's not a top priority of the sale of TikTok.
Right.
So that is the end of the normal news, the major headlines hitting this week. Let's get into some rapid news.
All right, so I'll start us off this time. President Biden has secured 300 million COVID-19 vaccine doses, um, and they are hoping that those are all available by midsummer.
Sunday, the 14th, it's Valentine's Day. So remember to buy your chocolates, remember to buy your flowers. You don't want to make anyone mad. You can thank me later. So there's your friendly reminder. Nick, tell me some good news.
All right, so over the past few weeks, we've talked a lot about kind of major events that happen, whether it was nonprofits starting or just really major stories. But this one was kind of quick, simple, but I really enjoyed it all the same. So this woman was driving down the highway and came upon just a really slippery area. It was kind of icy, sloshy, and she lost control of her car. Well, the car ended up crashing into a creek and she lost consciousness briefly. And when she woke up, she saw that she was stuck in the creek and the car was all mangled, but she was still alive. And then she saw a man heading in her direction. And she said, there was a quote from her in the article that basically said that the moment she saw him, she knew she was going to be okay. Just the fact that someone was there and coming to help her, she just felt calm. So this man who happened to be a coal miner just on his way home from his shift, he saw her there, saw the mangled car, saw her in the creek, and just came to help. Well, got her out of the car, and thank God he did too, because as they were heading up the bank away from the creek, the car actually burst into flames. So he completely saved her life. So she went to the hospital, never got the man's name, and then when she returned home, she put out a Facebook post trying to get a hold of him, and they ended up talking and messaging, and she basically sees him as her own personal hero now. And it's just nice to see these little actions having just the biggest impact.
I think the most amazing part of this story is obviously it's amazing that he saved her life, but I think the more amazing part is that she didn't know who he was and he wasn't in it for the publicity. Someone could have saved her life and then called the news and said, "We need to do an interview." Now, she didn't know who he was. She went to the hospital, and then for her to come out of the hospital and need to track this man down, I think is even kind of like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, the post had been shared 900 times before he saw it and messaged her and told her who he was. And the woman, again quoted in the article, basically said that when she talked to him, he basically just tried to downplay the whole situation and act like he just did her a favor, essentially.
Did a favor of saving a life. That's amazing.
Yeah, he got her out of the car, got her up the bank, and as they were walking away from it, the car just burst into flames. If he hadn't helped her, chances are she would have died.
That's crazy to think about. That is the end of this Friday morning episode. Make sure you follow us on all social medias. Down in the show notes down below are the links. Make sure you follow us on the Blind Boys Politics Twitter account specifically because we are always tweeting the latest news, headlines, breaking news, all of that 24/7. So you won't want to miss that. You'll always be informed of what's going on. And then follow our personal accounts for wonderful entertainment. But until Monday morning, have a great weekend and a great Valentine's Day. See ya.
Bye, guys.